suppose you get a sales order, you check whether the sufficient stock, sufficient material is available or not. If that material
basically we use only material availability report to know how much is the stock available and how much we should order.
Yeah. If suppose if you're directly checking, if you get a sales order, if you directly check for the finished product, if it is there, you directly deliver it to the customer and close the topic. Suppose if the finished product is not available, then you run the MRP and you check whether the sufficient raw materials are available to manufacture that finished product.
Components.
If all the raw materials are available, you issue you give it to the production and they manufacture it. And when the finished stock is updated, the sales people give it to the customer and close the topic. And if the sufficient raw materials are not available, the product procurement department is initiated saying these are the raw materials which are not available and we want to procure it. So the purchasing department takes over from there. They find out who's the vendor, buy that material, and they update the stock. When the stock is updated, the production department is again intimated saying this raw materials are available. Now, from there, the production department takes over. They take that raw material, give it to the production work order, whatever it is, make to order, or make to stock. From there, they finish it, and next level, it goes to the sales people. So now, if you are mostly into creation of MM is totally different, related to buying the material, finding out from the which vendor is the best vendor, how to create quotations, getting the best vendor on the form. From there, how to take the material, put it in the best way, and from there, how to pay to the vendor. Actually, the MM contains 4 sub-modules. One is procurement. The second is inventory management. Third one is invoice verification. The first one is majorly procuring the material from outside. The life cycle, the P2P cycle, from how you procure the material from outside and how to pay it. The second is inventory, how to preserve the inventory, how to save it, and how to do the random counting of it, like how to verify the stock value, like how we might be seeing the system in your ERP might be saying a quantity of 200 number. But physically, when you go and see, it might be there, it may not be there. That is system stock. Physical stock and system stock. How periodically, how do you count the physical stock and the system stock and compare if both are matching or not? If they are not matching, what to do? So these are 3 parts, some majorly into MM.
Like cycle count and that type of thing.
Yeah, cyclic counting and all.
Okay.
I'll just start off with, because even Salil is also non-IT, I'll start off with what is ERP, and then we will go what is SAP, and from SAP we will see MM in particular. And after attending today's session, you can decide if you want to go for MM or PP.
Yeah, that we can do that.
I'll just share PPT, then we'll go proceed further.
Okay.
You both are able to view my screen right now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Starting with ERP, any company which is into business, they look for profit. Without profit, no company is going to run the show. So the entire profit is revenue minus expenses. What all money you get, you deduct all the expenses from that to get the profit. All the ERP products are there to optimize your profit. How best you can work on your revenue and expenses, you get the profit. And the ERP modules are all which optimizes your business process so that you can control your expenses. If you see in the market, we don't have a direct control over our revenue. How much we sell, how many people buy our product is not dependent in our hands. But if you see, all the expenses are directly dependent on our hands. You can't directly say today I will sell 1 crore of stuff. But at the same time, you have full control over your expenses. If I can reduce the expenses to the maximum level, that is directly in my hand. But whereas the revenue is not in my hand, it is dependent on the market. If the market is buying my product, I get my revenue. So SAP ERP products totally deal with how do I control my expenses in optimized manner so that I can reduce all my expenses and increase my profit level. One of the major focus of ERP is that. ERP started off with where ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, where the enterprise stands for the business which you are working, the company which you are working, and the resources are the 4M's in your company. Your money, your finances, how you are going to manage it, your mission, how you are going to manage it, your material, how you are going to manage it, and your manpower. How you control these 4 people, how you manage these 4 people, and the last segment, the planning, how you plan and use this 4M so that your profit margin of your company increases. Before ERP coming into market, we had MRP. And before MRP, there was just inventory management. Inventory management was how you control your material, how you preserve the material, and how you issue the material to the production people. From there, people started analyzing not just inventory management, they wanted to run a MRP where it checks whether to manufacture one material, what are all the raw materials required, and to do manufacture of 100 finished products, what are all the sub raw materials which I need, and how to counter it, how to find out whether the raw materials is available in my plant or not. So this way, MRP has come into the picture. MRP was only dealing with material. But later when ERP came, ERP was a combination of all the other modules like sales, finances, costing, MM, production planning, all the sub-modules. ERP is a powerful tool which integrates all the modules in one platform so that you get a one result at the one location at one point. Earlier, if you have seen, many companies had used separate finance module, software separating for finances, and other software for production, and other software for sales. If in that case, if someone wanted to know the information of other modules, the data has to be downloaded from that system, it has to be uploaded into the other system, and they club it and they get the final result of it. But whereas in MRP or whereas in ERP, all these modules are in one location and in one position, so that it will be easy for us to get the updated information. The need for ERP was an integration business process, whereas earlier it was all separate. But now all the sub-modules, all the modules are integrated at one location. And you get an online information at the corporate office. If you see you have 100 plants segregated in the entire world, but at one location at your head office, you can find out the entire sales, the manufacturing details, the production planning details of all your companies, all the plants in your company. And it standardizes the system across locations. You have the same module, same structure, which is functioning in different plants. And it's faster consolidated at the head office because everything is online. And it reduces redundancy. Earlier, what happened? You had a finance module separately, you had a production module separately. All the production where you buy your raw material and all, materials were being defined in production department as well as in finance department. You have a redundancy of data. But now, since both are in the same platform, same location, all the master data is at one location, there is no redundancy. Redundancy is reduced drastically. But earlier, there are many ERPs in the market like SAP BAN or now the BAN is in for AD Edwards, PeopleSoft or Newton. But right now the market, most of them, 60% is ruled by SAP because it is more compatible. It is trying to acquire, if 5 5 or 10 business people are looking out for a solution which is available in another ERP. They try to incorporate the same thing over here. Or if any new business has come into the market, they try to incorporate that as a new module and into the SAP. That was brief of ERP, how the ERP has come into picture. We'll see now what does SAP stands for and what is the advantages of SAP over the other ERP. SAP stands for Systems Application and Product in Data Processing, where the system is the industry which you are working, whether manufacturing industry or production industry or oil and gas or any retail. Nowadays you have for even for health related, school related, finance related, all these other systems industry wise, and the application what the SAP gives to accommodate this industry, like this SD, MM, PM, planning, quality management, warehouse management, finance or costing, and the products what the SAP is giving us. The R3 is the one, the main where you function all the businesses. You have BI. BI is related to making strategic reports and all in decision making tools. SRM, CRM, APO, and all. These are the different products which SAP is giving us. SAP Business Suite, a family of open business solutions that integrate all the people and all the information what you have and all the processes what you have in your company so that you can increase your profit further. You have a systematic manner how your production is running. You have a systematic manner how your finances are taking place. All your processes are perfectly integrated so that your information is up to date. Why SAP? SAP is rich in functionality. The functionality is like sir said, you have 17 years of experience of PP. You know what is how a production process has to run. All this information is gathered from the experienced people and that is incorporated in it. Similarly, FI, finances, how finances has to be maintained. The finances information is gathered and it is incorporated into SAP. This way, SAP has a very rich functionality. It covers all mostly we have 62 ranges of submodules which can be incorporated in it. It is multilingual. The most advantages of SAP is multilingual. You can log in any language of that region and work on it. The same data can be seen in English. It can also be seen in German or Dutch or Spanish, any other language, based on the company's requirement. And it is tightly integrated across the functionality. If I have created a sales order, I can check whether the sales order is direct. Now it's going to connect with the materials people and find out whether the sufficient finished product is available or not. If it is not available, the production planning people are intimated, saying we have got a order of 100 vehicles, so we want to manufacture it. That 100 order of finished product will go and check how many raw materials we need. So again, MM people are intimated, and the production procurement department is intimated. All through the process, FI also is intimated. The costing is intimated. This way, there's a tight integration between every other module. It is very flexible and highly configurable. SAP has given a standard, and the standard can be used and it can be configured according to the business requirement. Highly secure data handling, minimum data redundancy. Since all are at one location, the data redundancy is very less. Okay. If you suppose in some companies we have a separate finance module, a separate sales module like Salesforce or something, which counters only sales related. In that case, what happens? All the master data has to be in the sales system, because when you come to production, they have another module. All the master data has to be in the production module also. Now here you have two sets of master data. When you have two sets of master data, first the storage is going up, and suppose if you change one master data over here, and if you don't change it at the other location, the data is not consistent. If we have multiple data, the data consistency comes down because of the redundancy. But whereas in SAP, since everything is in one location, the data redundancy is controlled and consistency is maintained because at one location you do all the updates. That's the advantages of SAP over the other products. In SAP, we have majorly divided to logistics, finances, and HRM, where the logistics deals with the material, where how the material is getting manufactured, process, quality management is taken care, warehouse management is taken care. The finances and FICO is entirely deals with finances and the costing of it. How the finance aspect, how the controlling of the cost. HRM is human resource management, where the HR related work continues. Cross application is how a SAP system interacts with the non-SAP system, or how an SAP system interacts with the other SAP system. It's a crossing of two different applications. Suppose in my company, I have 5 plants. All the 4 plants I have incorporated SAP, and the other plant is very far away, and that is very small plant, and I don't want to invest so much, so that SAP has to be installed over there. They are using some older ERP, and the company is okay when they use an older ERP. I can, at the end of the day, I can get all the information from this one plant, and that I can club it in the head office at the other plant, and I can get a consolidated information. This way, the SAP system is attracting non-SAP system, so that the data is updated every quarter. This is cross app. How it started and all, we do not sit much on that one. But it started with 5 IBM ex-employees, and have come up with ERP, SAP ERP. Initially, it started with finance, and later they have added many other ERP. SAP is 3-layer architecture, like client-server architecture. We have a presentation layer, we have an application layer, and we have a database layer. The system what we see in our laptop or the desktop is the front-end layer, the presentation layer. The presentation layer helps the system to connect to the application system. Application system is the where the crux of the system, the engine of SAP runs. If you see a desktop, you have a screen, monitor. Monitor looks to the presentation layer where I can interact with the system. The major part of all the operation is done in the CPU. CPU is the hardware where the system accepts the request, processes, and give it back to the monitor. So presentation layer is all the small computers what you see, people logging in to the SAP system. From here, the request is sent to the application layer. An application layer with all the programs it runs. If it has to bring some information, it touches the database layer, gets the information, processes it, and give it back. A simple, very day-to-day example what we can correlate with application presentation and database layer is the hotel restaurant if you go. When you go to restaurant, you interact only with the waiter who's received what is going to supply for. That waiter is the one application layer. He takes our request, he goes to the kitchen, gives that request he's the presentation layer. He takes the request, goes to the application layer. That's the chef in the hotel. The chef takes whatever ingredients he wants from the database system and cooks what we want and gives back to them. And even at the end, the waiter is the one who brings it back. Exactly, the presentation layer takes all the information what the user wants. I say I want a report saying whether the sufficient raw materials are available. I take that request for which plant, or which storage location, or which production order. I take that information in application layer. I go and check the raw material which is available in the database, and it makes a report and gives back to me. This is how our client server architecture looks in the executive. If you see, this is the entire process of SAP. The blue segment is what we deal with MM. The MM is the blue segment. The FI is the orange one. SD is the sales people. We have the yellow one. So if you see the entire architecture of this, a simple example of what we have already spoken, we'll once again touch over it. The sales people go out, try to get customers, they give quotations and they get the order for us. When they get the order, that order we go and check it if the stock is available or not. Assume we went and got an order for 10 cars. 10 cars. First, the salespeople check with the materials management. Do 10 cars available for easy delivery? Remember, MM people gives a report saying, no, right now we have only 2 cars. So salespeople, from the salespeople, the production people are intimated saying we need to manufacture 8 cars in so and so time. The production people check for that 8 cars raw materials, what all we need with the MM department. MM department gives them the sufficient raw materials if it is available, and if it is not available, they go to the market, inquire, and get the sufficient raw materials. And once they get raw materials, they issue it to the production department. The production department takes the raw material, manufacture it, and make a finished product, and intimate the salespeople that 8 cars are manufactured. So the salespeople take the 8 cars, give it to the customer, and they do the billing, and they get the phone. Also, the way you see now, you have seen the SD integration with PP, you have seen SD integration with finances, because everywhere finances are included. PP integration with MM, and if your company has a warehouse management installed, warehouse is completely about storing your material in a systematic manner and issuing the material in a systematic manner. So this way, multiple modules are integrated at one location. Now we will talk about MM completely. What is MM and what are the modules which we cover in MM? The major part of MM is the procurement cycle. How you procure a material from the market? First, the procurement starts with the need of a material. Like the sales people who manufacture one car, they check whether the sufficient raw materials are available or not. When that is not there, that's the need for a material. So that need is first taken, captured, and that need is known as the purchase requisition in the SAP terminology. Purchase requisition is an internal document raised by one department saying that is intimated to the purchasing people saying we need this raw materials for some particular task. So that task, that form what they fill and give us is known as a purchase requisition. I take the purchase requisition, the MM procurement department. I study what all raw materials I want, and I go and check whether I already have a vendor for that. If I already have a fixed vendor for those materials, I create a purchase order and give it to that particular vendor. Suppose if I don't have a particular vendor, no fixed vendor, suppose that's a new material which I wanted from the market, the procurement department has to go find out who's the vendor available in the market. And they find out they have 5 different vendors who sell that material. So I create a 5 quotation form, request for quotation, RFQ, and I gave it to the 5 different departments, 5 different vendors. Those vendors will take the quotation form, fill the price, and give it back to me. I will consolidate, I will enter that 5 different values into my system, and I will try to find out one best vendor out of that 5, and then finalize the vendor. After finalizing a vendor, I will create a purchase order for that material, for that vendor, and I'll give it to that vendor. And after some days, the vendor sends the material. I need to accept that material. That accepting the material in SAP is known as GR. GR stands for goods received. When I receive the material, how do I receive it? What all I need to compare it? Whether the quantity what I've raised, purchase order is matching with the quantity what is selling, and if it is much, what to do, and if it is less, what to do. So that stands for goods received. Once I receive the goods, I need to pay to the vendor. The finance department is the one who is going to pay to the vendor. But before the finance person pays, as a MM consultant who has raised that request for the material, I need to check whether the price what I give is matching with what the price the vendor has given. Along with the material, the vendor will send an invoice for it. So as a procurement department, I need to check whether invoice what the vendor has sent is perfectly created, whether the material or the information is matching or not. In my purchase order, I said I want 5 tires for $200. I need to check whether the vendor has also given the same invoice, 10 tires for $200. If the cost is matching, if the quantity is matching. So this invoice verification, only when I check the invoice and confirm the invoice is right, only then the finance department will be able to pay. This is a complete P2P cycle, that is a procurement cycle. It starts with procuring and it ends with payment. That's why it's known as a P2P cycle. The second major part of MM is the inventory management. When I raise a request purchase order, the vendor is sending me the material, how I receive it, and how I store it. And when some production department or when any other department requests for the material, how do I issue that material? So the inventory management complete work of the inventory management is when a material is coming to the plant, how do I receive it? And at the same time, when someone requests for a material, how do I issue it? That's the first major work. Second work is, like as we spoke, the cyclic counting, physical inventory. All what we are entering it is in the system number. Periodically, we need to check whether the system stock is matching with the real physical stock. And if it is matching, well and good. If it is not matching, how do we need to proceed further? Do we need to write off it as a loss, or do we need to go for inquiry? That's not physical inventory. Then we have invoice verification. As I said, invoice verification, it's one of the very important submodule of MM, where we need to find out, are we paying the right amount to the vendor at the right time? If I have a vendor, very good vendor, who we have very good dealing with him, and if I don't pay him on time, that's a bad remark for him. Next time, he may not be willing to give the best price for it. So we need, as a purchasing department, we need to maintain a good rapport with the vendor. We need to pay the vendor at the right time and the right amount. That particular things are being taken care by the invoice verification. And then we have different reports, like what is the stock value on this date, like search at MRP. When I run MRP, it shows me what are all the raw materials available at that position. All these reports can be created in the report segment. And finally, we have warehouse introduction. In warehouse introduction, we'll just give an introduction how MM is related to warehouse. If a company has a warehouse module, how the MM and WMS integrated. This is a major part of the course content, what we're going to. Training course details, I will mail you that list. You can have a copy of it. With this, we are completed with what is SAP and how, what are the modules which we are going to cover in SAP MM. Next level, we will touch with the organization structure, how a organization structure of the company looks, and what is the organization structure of the MM point of view. This is the SAP organization structure for the entire company, not just MM or SE, but it's a complete organization structure. If you see, we have first is a group company. If we take an Indian company like Tata, Tata is a group company, and Tata people have many small companies, businesses like Tata Motors, Tata Steel, Tata Computer Services, or any other model. So this different small companies or companies are known as a company code in the SAP terminology. Each businesses which has the separate functioning, which has the separate accounting and separate trial balance at the end of the year are known as a company code. And below company code, next we have purchasing organization. Before purchasing organization, we have plants. Each company code has many plants. Like if you see Tata Motors has one plant in Kolkata, one in Gujarat, one in Mumbai, and the plant is a location where a material is manufactured, material is processed, or material is stored. This is a plant. We can have multiple plants for a company code. Like Tata Motors has different plants at different locations. And each plant can have a purchasing organization. A purchasing organization is the department which is responsible to buy material for that plant. A purchasing organization is a team of people who does all the procurement for that. Either if it is assigned to a company code, they do all the procurement for that company code. Or if it is assigned to a plant, they do all the procurement for that plant. Similarly, sales organization. Sales organization is responsible to sell the material. Purchasing is responsible to buy a material. Whereas sales organization is responsible to sell the material to the customer. Okay, it is usually at a company code level where they sell the material. And then we have a warehouse. Suppose if a plant is having a warehouse and the warehouse has a different location and how the materials are stored in different locations. This is the complete organization structure of SAP Function. But whereas in MM, we deal only with the group company, that is the client. Then we have company code. Then we have purchasing organization. And then we have plant. The client is a group company. Earlier what happened when SAP started off, the server was very costly. So SAP has given an option like 5-6 people, different companies can they can share the same server. So for the data to be separated from each person, they gave a client number. 001, one company. 100, another different company. 200, another different company. Initially it started off with that one. It is still continuing because they wanted to have a separate set of information for this individual company. Then we have company code, is different company codes, like different businesses where they want to have their own trial balance at the end of the year. And the purchasing organization is a team which is responsible to buy a material. If my purchasing organization is assigned to my company code, that means it is going to buy all the material for this company code level. And if the purchasing organization is a plant level, this purchasing organization is responsible to buy all the materials at the plant level. A small example would be like, if I have a purchasing organization at the plant level, I can buy only for the plant. If I have purchasing organization company code level, that purchasing organization can buy for all the plants of that company. Sometimes it is best to buy at the company code level so that we get the best price. Suppose if you are buying a steel, if I say I buy 10 tons of steel, the vendor might give us 20 per kg price. So for the same thing, if I say I'll buy 400 tons of steel, he will give us 14 or 13 or best price. So each plant need steel. So I buy it at a bulk level and I distribute to my different plants. So that's the advantage of buying at different level. The major part of the purchasing is the purchasing organization. As a MM consultant, we are responsible for buying a material. We are currently dealing with the purchasing organization. Purchasing organization, as I said, is a team which is responsible to buy material from outside. And the purchasing organization is classified as small groups. There's a purchasing group. One group is responsible to buy local material. One other group is responsible for import procurement, importing material from other countries and all. Another department, a small team, would be responsible to buy a specific material. In my company, I want a specific material, and that has to be dealt in a separate manner. So I keep a separate team, and I'll say, you people only manage this material. So purchasing organization is a bigger team, and purchasing groups of small teams which is responsible to buy a particular material in a particular fashion. And all these purchasing organizations are assigned to a plant. And if you see here, they gave plant 5 has only one purchasing organization, whereas purchasing organization 1 is responsible for plant 1, 2, and 3. That means this purchasing organization is buying material for these 3 plants. If it is a single plant, single purchasing organization, that is plant specific purchasing organization. If it is more than one plant, it's at the company code level. Any doubts so far? Am I fast?
No. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Now we will see different organization units. As I said, the client is a group of legal team for the organization business point of view. That's a group company. Like as I said, Tata Group. Tata Group is the head group, and this Tata Groups have different company codes. The different company codes are different businesses what they have. This level represents an independent accounting unit within a client. Tata Motors has their own separate accounting system, which is not linked with the Tata Motors. So these two are separate. How it is separated through company code. So company code they maintain their own accounting system. Below company code, you have multiple plants. Plant can be in two sense, where a material is manufactured or can be stored as a brand. Like if you see sales people, they have different dealerships and all, where the materials are just stored and all. That building can be known as a plant. At the same time, a plant manufacturing unit where all the raw materials are taken, assembled, and made a finished product. That is also a plant. So plant can be a place where material is stored, or it can be processed. That's a plant. Then we have purchasing organization. As I said, purchasing organization is a unit responsible for all the procurement of that material. And below that, we have purchasing group. A purchasing group is further divided. Purchasing organization is further divided into small divisions. That is a purchasing group. If I have 100 departments, 100 members of purchasing organization, I have 10 teams, 10 each, where each team is responsible for a particular material. One team, you buy only steel. Another team, you buy only chemicals. Another team, you buy only other miscellaneous raw materials. Then we have 1 or 2 small people who are office material like pen, paper, and all. So these are different purchasing groups which is responsible to buy a particular material. That is the end of the purchasing organization level of SAP. Now, as I said, we have 4 major sub-modules of MM. The first one is the procurement, which I said the first level of the procurement cycle is the requirement determination. Requirement determination is, as I said, we need a particular material. The need of a particular material is arise or required is derived, made note of it. That is known as requirement. From the requirement, the source determination. Source determination is finding out who is the best vendor in the market. find out all the vendors, and from that select the best vendor. And after the best vendor selection, you do the order processing. I mean, you create a purchase order and give it to the vendor, and you keep intimating him or reminding him. And once the follow-up is done and he sends the material, you do goods receipt of the material into the invoice. Then finally, we have an invoices. We check the invoices. The purchasing team is responsible for the order making. They create a purchase order. They keep contacting the vendor and all, and they negotiate the prices. When the vendor sends the material, I receive the material in my plant. And each plant, we have a separate storage location. One storage location might be I'll keep only raw materials, which is a bigger yard, like steel. Another purchase storage location is a small shop in my plant where I keep all small materials like nuts, bolts, and all. I have another storage location where I have machinery tools which I want, spanner, whatever. Those things I store it in another storage. The storage location is a small unit within the plant where materials are stored. So I receive the material, the vendor sends the material, I receive the material, I do a verification with the purchase order. With the material, the purchase order is being updated. Whenever I do a purchase order and put the shift with that one, the purchase order history gets updated. Saying against this purchase order, we have bought this material. This is a subtopic which we'll be covering with food system. And as we go further, when the class starts, we'll touch each and every topic. And finally, as I said, we have invoice verification, where we do invoice verification. Invoice verification has a three-way process. First, the vendor sends the invoice with a hard copy of the invoice. I compare that invoice with my purchase order. In my purchase order, I said I want 100 materials of 10 rupees each. So I will check with the vendor, did he also maintain 100 materials of 10 rupees each? If it is not matching, then we call up the vendor and find out. We spoke for 10 rupees, why did you charge 11? So that negotiation is good. Then we have goods receipt based verification. I said I want 100 material. The vendor has said only 50 material and he sent a bill for 100. So I check it with respect to goods receipt. I have received only 50, why did you send for 100? So I call up vendor and find out why is the mismatch. So based on that, we'll take a decision. The invoice verification is the department is only responsible to find out how much we need to pay the vendor at the right time, at the right amount what we need to pay the vendor. And there's the same process what I said. The vendor's invoice, I am checking it with respect to purchase order and goods receipt. Then I do a final document and give it to the finance department. They will pay the. With this, we are done with only the introduction of what is SAP and SAP MM and what are the sub-modules of it. Any questions?
I have
any particular questions in this?
Not about general question. Like as an asset consultant, what would be my job like in this particular? What I will be doing?
Okay. The role of a SAP consultant is very simple. I'll just take a real-time example. And suppose if we go for a supermarket, the counter cashier would take the material, he'll do the barcode and gives the material, and the billing is done.
Right.
As an end user, what he knows only to take the barcode and take the impression of the material, and automatically everything is populated onto the system. The system what he's following.